now we'll go into resolutions, and we'll start first with the Office of the County Clerk, and I see our County Clerk is here this evening. Ready, Joanne?
Good evening. Before I start, I'd just like to extend an invitation to the freeholders for our launch on Monday of our mobile app, our election mobile app in the county. If you recall, you agreed to the resolution authorizing it back in July, and in a matter of 2 months, we've put it together. We're going to launch it at Kane University at 11 a.m., and then again at Union County College at 2 p.m. So I invite you to come. This app does everything but make your dinner at night. It's quite exciting. Mr. Chairman, I have 3 resolutions, possibly a 4th. The first is exercising a 24-month extension on a contract with ACES Imaging System for the purpose of microfilming services to extend from December 6, 2014 through December 5th, 2016 in an amount not to exceed $22,350. Secondly, we have a resolution for miscellaneous vendors in election duties. These include the translators for our ballots, also stenographers who are present when we do the drawing and when we have challenges or recounts, as well as several other people. FedEx to mail the absentee ballots overseas, envelope company to print the election envelopes, and County Business Systems who prints our voter registration lists. All of them are under the bid threshold, but the aggregate is over $17,500. And the third resolution would be a new contract beginning in January for our software development consultant, Wislemersky Associates. He is presently working, and we hope to have active this year, our electronic e-filing system. And that will be mandatory in the state of New Jersey in a few years, but we wanted to introduce it to make sure that it is appropriate and works well and can be verifiable. What it means is that we will have electronic, we will accept deeds electronically, mortgages electronically, and every other document electronically. So we're very excited about that. And that contract is the same as last year. It's not to exceed $41,350. The 4th resolution, which I hope we will have in time for next week, would be with Dominion voting machine system, and it is a maintenance contract for the software that we have to tally the election. And that contract last year was $29,500. So I think it will be in the same area, about $30,000.
Do we so is that technically a resolution from the floor?
No, I'm telling you about it now. I don't have the
Okay.
contract in my hand.
I'm sorry.
I will have it hopefully tomorrow for
Okay,
you.
understood.
If I don't, then we'll have to postpone it for another time.
Okay, great.
Chairman?
Yes.
And upon that contract, I'll make sure that all the freeholders.
Okay, I didn't know if procedurally it had to be designated as.
Nope.
That's all. Freeholders, any questions for the county clerk? Freeholder Bergen?
More technical question, but on the electronic recording, or it would be submitted, and then your office would review it, somehow electronically stamp it, and then email it back, or?
There is a facilitator. There are vendors out there that are facilitators. There are several of them, a handful. They have a portal, and then you contract perhaps as an attorney, Freeholder Bergen, with that person. You send them your document, and they send it to me electronically. Yes, it is, to answer your second question, yes, it is stamped, is booked and paged, just like a regular document. It goes through the same process, but it's done electronically. The upside of that is that you don't have to wait a day or two for the mail to deliver it to me or FedEx to bring it the next day. It's done. And it's accepted 24/7. And it's time-stamped.
Thank you.
Just a follow-up question. So that's a state statute?
It will be. It will be mandatory to have e-filing in a few years.
So so the legislature has a date set already, or?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, I'm
The
sorry, that's-
legislation passed 2
Okay.
years ago. But 5 years were given for clerks to, acclimate to this and adapt their systems, because there's 21 clerks, and unfortunately, they have 21 different systems.
Right.
So there's no one uniform system that could be used to do this.
So if I'm an attorney filing a deed, are there, how are the way to choose the vendor? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this, so just bear with me.
Well, they advertise.
Okay.
Are
Are there only are there only a certain number of vendors?
I believe there's only, right now in
Is it
New
by state
Jersey, maybe
contract?
5 or 6. I don't know if it's by state contract, but you would contract with them, and then they have a portal to every clerk that has electronic registration, and they send it through.
Is
So
there,
if, yes.
I'm sorry, is there going to be an additional cost burden on the county by having to do it at this point? I mean, I guess down the road it'll be when
Quite
it's
the contrary, and this is
Okay.
where, which I mentioned to you previously, along with this legislation is a uniform filing fee, which the clerks have taken arms up and tried to work with the Land Title Association and legislators, because we don't want the county to lose that money.
Right.
That's recording fees that you get 100% of. So that, at the end of 5 years, in another few years, that will go into effect also. We are still working and negotiating on structuring that fee schedule, because we do not want anyone to lose money.
Right, but
And for example, a deed could be 4 pages, or a master deed could be 300 pages. So if I say a deed is $10 to electronically record, I'm going to lose a lot of money recording a 300-page deed electronically.
is it going to be less work for your staff because it's electronic?
Yes and no. It still has to be indexed.
It's an unusual tension because it's,
Yeah.
on one hand, yeah.
I don't do it.
On one hand, I'd love to be able to tell people who, I guess attorneys would be the big one, that this will cost less money because it's electronic. And the other part, there's the work burden on your staff to
They
process
still
the
have
deed.
to review it and index it. It still has to go through that process. It's convenience and accessibility for those that are sending documents in.
Right. And then just one last question for me, and then I'll turn it back to the board. The ACES imaging for what do we microfilm still?
We have to microfilm because the state statute still exists that we have to microfilm. It's a mandate. It's a state mandate.
Do we actually, so we do microphone every?
We have to. I have no choice. I have to report this to the archives that I have microfilmed these documents. Listen.
I know, I'm not beating you up on it. It's so silly at this day and this time in
It would seem so.
technology. So, thank you. Freeholders, any other questions for the clerk? Freeholder Estrada?
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Very interesting you were saying about that our consultant, Wisłomerski, is doing for us in terms of this ability to us to provide this information ahead of most of the other counties. But what exactly is he doing? What are we paying him to do for this particular process?
Well, we have a vendor, NGO, who will be the facilitator in this system. We have to customize the program. NGO has a template that they use. For example, so if you submitted to me a document, you would have to follow their template. They have a form or a template that they use. However, that template doesn't necessarily correspond to the mandates the state has.
Why not?
Why not? Because there are only so many vendors, and there's no New Jersey vendors. They're all from different states. So what they've done is they've sort of done a universal type of template. It may not conform to the state statutes in Maryland or New Jersey, so it has to be customized. Additionally, it has to dovetail with our computer program also.
No,
So,
part I understand, but let me ask you a question. Is there any of this work that he's doing is a priority, is it a private design by him, or do we own this program?
Yes.
Could we sell it to other people?
we
as well?
own the software. He helped me develop it back in 1985. And we did sell it. We sold it to, it was owned by the county, and we sold it to Passaic County.
Okay, so you're ready to sell it since you're the first one off the gate?
Pardon me?
Since you're the first one off the gate within the next 4 years, you have a great opportunity to make some money there, so hope you come back to us with.
We're not the first. There are other counties that have accept electronic
you only deal with
documents.
the first here. Thank you, Joe.
Any other questions for the clerk? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The Office of the Union County Sheriff, County Council, you'll be taking that tonight, correct?
I will, Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's one item on the agenda and seeking authorization for the county manager to enter into a contract with Visual Computer Solutions for a compatible computer hardware on a scheduling system.
Any questions regarding that resolution, Freeholders? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Director of Administrative Services, Norm Albert.
Chairman, members of the board, the department has one resolution on for your consideration, an increase in the payments to Verizon for our telecommunication bills of $200,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Freeholder Estrada, jump in a bit.
Good evening, Norm.
Good evening.
I know that I had asked you a question about we understand that it's 200,000 more to the end of the year, but I know that that's less than what it has been in comparison, but all the new technology that we're working on, what is that going to do to the overall cost in terms of reduction?
Well, I don't have figures for that, but it is clearly designed to go down. We're about 90% complete on phase one of the turnover from Verizon to Broadview, our new broadband, through a state contract. And once that's complete, we believe the savings will. We spent $1,430,000 on this last year and the year before that. This year, this brings it up to $1 million for Verizon and up to $200,000 for Broadview. As of right now, we've spent about $66,000 on Broadview. So there's a saving. There'll be a savings this year. We'll know specifically what. Once we're all the way converted, and it's a difficult process because we have to keep all the circuits open, all the old circuits open. It has to be seamless for the communications for all our buildings. So by the time it's done, we believe there'll be significant savings in future years, but I don't have a figure on that.
So you cannot equate that significance part to a dollar amount.
Not yet. In next year, I hope to be able to. All right?
Freeholder Carter.
In the projection, we're approving this for 2 months, correct?
To the end of the year, so
So the
3
end of the-
essentially.
Okay, might be a little bit more than 2 months. But is it on track that we will be able to cut over by the first of the year? Or is there a possibility we may still need to extend it?
I believe that the complete turnover won't occur until the spring of 2015. That's about the schedule.
Okay, so if it's the spring of 2015, then you'll be coming back for us to end up us approving additional?
Well, no, that would be in the budget for next year. That would be considered.
Okay, and hopefully that'll still be left, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Freeholders? Thank you, Norm.
Welcome. Thank you.
The Department of Economic Development, Bill Reyes, our Deputy County Manager. Come on down.
Good evening, Chairman, freeholders. Economic Development has 5 items for your consideration. Prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes, Deputy County Manager, if you could explain a little bit about number 1, it's always nice to know that things cost less than they originally were forecast, so maybe our Public Works
Yes.
Director can this was for intersection improvements near Hillside Avenue School on Centennial.
That's correct. This was improvements through lighting for safety reasons. It was also widening of roads. It also included moving of utility poles, which is always difficult to do. And the project came in at less than what anticipated, so the contingency left over is, and the savings is $2,444.02. You're welcome.
Builder Carter?
In reference, can you just go over, number 5, because it's payment program 5, year 5, I guess, annual PHA plan, section 8. So if you can just go over that a little bit and, also, get into number 5 a little bit.
Sure. Number 4 is the one you're asking, right? The housing assistant?
4 and 5, yes.
Sure. For number 4, it's a 5-year plan, and basically what they want to know is, and we've been in good standings for numerous years, so they've allowed us to keep our previous 5-year plan, even though it was more than 5 years. But now it's time for us to renew our 5-year plan. And basically what it goes over is the amount of vouchers that we have and the amount of units that are available. It also details, for example, we're allowed 371 vouchers. As of July, when this report went out, we had about 343 vouchers out. And as you know, they fluctuate literally month by month because some people leave the system and some new people come in. We currently have 13,848 people on the waiting list, unfortunately. But again, we're only allowed 371 vouchers. So the plan details literally the units that we have, the units that are occupied, literally by studios, 1 bedroom through 5 bedrooms, and the breakdown of how many are in each municipality within Union County, and also details our budget, which is more than $3.8 million.
And the 371 is the amount that we're permitted throughout for the Union County.
That's correct.
Correct. And that's separate from what the municipalities can have.
That's correct.
All right. And then we have 340 out. Is that because that's the only amount of locations that we found that meet the criteria for individuals, or has?
That's correct. Actually, that number was as of July, so that actually
Okay.
could change a little bit. But rarely do we hit the 371 because, as you can imagine, even when you get close to 371, you already have people leaving the system, for various reasons, whether they're able to they're not qualified anymore under the guidelines, or for other reasons, or deceased, or what have you. But that usually ranges around 340 to 360 something.
And number.
And
Continue.
I'm sorry, number 5, right? For number 5, we're doing a job. Number 5 actually is also part of number 2, which is the shared service agreement. What we'd like to do with Summit is they would like for us, while we do this project, is to help them with their sewer lines to put it under the stream, under the river. To do so, they're willing to reimburse the county $12,800 for the design, and also $85,000 for the actual job. Now, we're asking for $19,300 because it's minus the $12,800, which we will be reimbursed for. But the remainder, $6,500, is actually, SHPO actually asked us to do an architectural survey on that culvert. So that's the price that the county will pay due to the fact that SHPO asked for the architectural survey.
And
So
the
this,
architectural survey was not taken into consideration or spoken about when we originally went out for this whole project, or did that come in and say we need to get the survey later?
how many from the engineer can answer that part of the question?
I know, but I just want to make sure that they bring that out.
It's not, we don't put it in the original RFP because then it would, once the money is in there, sometimes it's hard not to spend it. The reason we do it is, it very seldom, very occasionally will a SHPO come and require us to do any kind of an architectural survey for a culvert project. But there are cases when they do, and when they do, we have to respond. But our policy is that when you do the RFPs, to just ask the consultant to do the conventional stream encroachment permits, flood permits, et cetera, and not to put that into his price. And if it occurs, and we have no way to know, really, it's really up to the SHPO, and it's not always a thing you know in advance. We would come back to the freeholders and ask for that extra service.
Okay. Okay, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Freeholder Estrada?
Yeah, just going back to number 4. Now, there has been some reductions in the amount of monies that are provided by the House and the U.S. Department of House and Urban Development. How are you addressing the issue with the shortages?
Freeholder, the way this budget works is, as you're aware, it's difficult because we're only told what the next 3 months' budget is. So, for example, when I gave you the $3.8 million, we know that a few months after the fact. This is obviously a 2013 budget. So we're literally dealing with knowing how much our budget is for the next 3 months. And so we obviously have to accommodate whatever budget they give us for those 3 months with what we can do with what they give us. But it is something that obviously we look at very closely, and it's literally a 3 months to 3 months figuring out how to do with less or sometimes the same as the previous year.
Do you know, let's say, from this 3 months to the past 3 months, how much difference has it been in terms of the allocation?
Do I know from last month to this month? That I do not know, but
3 months to this 3 months?
no, I can get you those figures, but I don't
Well,
know.
the reason for that is that one of the reasons why you would hold some vouchers is because the fact is you're going to be funded less. So that's one way of option. Now, whether you're required to utilize every single voucher, whether you have it or not, or how you apply the differences, because there has been differences. I don't know whether
Oh,
it
absolutely.
was impacted in the same manner, but I know that most housing authorities ended up having a reduction.
Right, and there's also another factor which are out of state, out of county individuals that come into the system too. And that's an unknown for us. Besides the waiting list, you literally can have people come out from other states and other counties into the system.
They would have to bring their own vouchers.
Exactly, they bring their own vouchers here, but we also have to account. We also have to account that for the administration fee and, yeah.
Thank you.
Freeholders, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Department of Finance.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. The Department of Finance has 5 resolutions for your consideration this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
All of them are notifications, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
That's a
ma'am.
beautiful thing. We like receiving money.
All right. Thank you, Director. Director Guzzo from the Department of Human Services.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the Department of Human Services has 5 resolutions on for your consideration. And with your permission, I'd like to add one for next week.
Why don't you lead off by telling us about that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
That'd be fabulous.
Number 6, it would be number 6, is asking, authorizing the county manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Hudson County in order to hire in order to bring the superintendent over to us, Diana Yost. If you recall, previous meeting, the board consented and agreed to hire her. We've not brought her here yet. Chiefly being is because there is an issue with intergovernmental transfer. Hudson County does not participate in an intergovernmental transfer program. And so as such, she's remained in Hudson County. As we're working towards other initiatives here, we've recently met in Hudson and worked out a mechanism by way we can get her here. We anticipate that this memorandum, if approved by the board, would allow her to start on October 14th. It will reimburse Hudson County for her salary and fringe benefits at the rate that she's making in Hudson County, not at what we're hiring her at. So it is at the rate that she's presently being paid. As we move towards these initiatives that we're trying to accomplish, then all of that will go away and she'll become an employee as you've approved previously through your action.
Freeholders, any question on the resolution from the floor before we entertain the other resolutions from Human Services? Any questions on the other five? Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes, Director, number 2 is an initiative of ours, if you could explain that a little bit? On the reentry?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, it's 1 and 2 are sort of tied together. This is an initiative that is a state grant program, and through that we use both the Urban League and Trinitas to provide reentry services for individuals coming out of the state prison system. On the first resolution, the Urban League provides housing, and on the second one through Trinitas Hospital, it provides mental health counseling. The level of service is around 75 individuals coming back in. There are 40 that have been served to date, so as you can see, the reason for this is we're extending that period at no additional cost to allow that contract to continue and hopefully reach that level of service that is within the existing contracts. We have a contract with state probation, and in turn, we provide through subcontract services through the Urban League and through Trinitas Hospital.
Freeholder Granados.
Can you further elaborate on number 4, the grant program, and which agencies deal with this program?
Yes, number 4 is rapid housing and emergency assistance, and this provides different types of services, homeless, rental assistance, and such, to individuals within the county that are eligible under income. I believe you asked what agencies?
Agencies, yes.
Okay, just give me 1 second, if you would. Agencies that are provided service under this are Bridgeway House. They do street outreach. Central Jersey Legal Services, obviously providing services for housing relocation. Elizabeth Coalition to house the homeless. Home First, Plainfield Area YMCA, Proceed, Salvation Army, Elizabeth, YMCA of Eastern Union County, and YWCA of Eastern Union County. All of those agencies provide different types of services for that population within the county and countywide, obviously.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholders, any other comments for Director Guzzo? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Department of Parks and Recreation, Director Zuper, run up to the mic. Got some good news?
And good evening, Mr. Chairman. The Department of Parks and Community Renewal Department of Parks and Recreation has 3 resolutions on tonight's agenda, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I see number 3 is relevant to the presentation we received last week regarding golf. So that is the resolutions for those, for that contract, correct, Kemper?
I brought Director of Golf Operations Armando Sanchez with me if you have any further questions regarding numbers 2 or 3.
Oh, Freeholders, any questions on 2 or 3? We have Armando here.
Can we just go, give just a synopsis of what they are, because they have some large dollar amounts, but I think the impact would be less than what people will kind of see.
Understood. Director Sanchez?
Yes. Can you repeat that question again?
Can you just give an overall summary of both 2 and 3?
Okay. We'll start with number 2. Number 2 is simply taking funds from November and December when the contract, the new contract would be executed, we're trying to move money from November and December into the current contract to pay for operational expenses that we accumulated through the summer with extra revenue that we did not anticipate. It's about $800,000 in extra revenue that we did not anticipate in our budget. So we want to go ahead and take care of those expenses before the new contract comes up. Number 3 is our new contract going forward to be executed starting November 1st for 5 years. It's for a total of $509,000. Our current contract for the past 5 years actually was about $604,000. So it's $100,000 less than the current contract. And the 7% concession fee is now, we're not going to be realizing the food and beverage revenue as well as the pro shop. That will go to Kemper as a concession. They will be paying us back 7% of all revenues, gross revenues, not just net, but gross revenues of the food and beverage operations as well as the pro shop, which probably over the next 5 years can be between $3 and $4 million a year. Coming back to us is anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 a year in a concession payment, with no operational expenses associated to it.
Thank you.
Realtors, any questions for Director Sanchez? Any questions for Director Zuber regarding the first resolution? Thank you, gentlemen. Department of Public Safety, Andy Moran.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Department of Public Safety has 2 resolutions on for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just in regard to number 2 and the UASI funding for 2014, how does that stack up towards previous years in terms of the award amount?
It's about $350,000 more than was received last year. Both our Homeland Security and UASI allotments have increased this year.
Realtors, any other questions for Director Moran? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Department of Public Works, Director Graziano.
Good evening, Chairman Freeholders. The department has 6 resolutions on tonight for your consideration, and I'll try and answer any questions you have.
Realtors, any questions for Director Graziano? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ronald Specialized Hospital, Michael Fleming, Acting Administrator.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Reynolds has 1 resolution for your consideration. Be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Realtors, any questions on this hospital? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
County Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The County Manager's Office has 1 resolution for your consideration. Myself or Director Albert will be glad to answer any questions you may have. This agreement is in line with previous agreements that have been approved relative to health and other benefits and incremental increases.
Thank you. Thank you, County Manager. Realtors, any questions for Director Albert in regard to this agreement? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Realtor sponsored resolutions. Realtors, any additions, amendments? Realtor Estrada?
Yes, I would like to ask my colleague Granados if I can join him in number 3. That's the Yvonne McCullough Foundation. They have their events.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Realtor John?
Chairman, I'll have one from the fiscal, with regard to a sponsorship.
Realtors, any other changes or additions?
Auditory.
Realtor Granados will have an auditory. Realtor Carter?
If I can be added on to number 6 with Freeholder Mirabella.
You know, if Realtor Mirabella wouldn't mind, you could check with him. Perhaps that should come from the entire board, as long as he's agreeable to that. Anything else? Mr. Clerk, I will have some appointments for various advisory boards. Make that notation. And that comes to the end of our agenda. but it appears we have to go to executive session. County Council, you have a
Thank you, Mr.
statement, I believe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, public body may enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing certain enumerated subjects. This board now wishes to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing attorney-client privilege communication relative to litigation matter Aspen Landscaping Contracting, Inc. versus County of Union et al.'s, and attorney-client privilege communication and potential additional contract negotiations with Center Management Group LLC relative to Reynolds Specialized Hospital. Minutes of the executive session shall be separated from the minutes of the open public session. The minutes of the executive session, redacted as appropriate and necessary, shall be available in approximately 30 days. Clerk to the board shall retain the original minutes until such time as the confidential limitations have been removed, at which time they shall be made available. Upon the affirmative vote of a majority of the members present, the board may retire to executive session. Upon the board's return, given this is an agenda meeting, no formal action on the matters discussed will be taken.
Freeholders may entertain a motion to go to executive session.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Freeholder Carter, and it was seconded by Freeholder Kowalski. Mr. Clerk, kindly read the roll.
Freeholder Bergen,
Yes?
Freeholder Carter,
Yes.
Freeholder Estrada,
Yes.
Freeholder Granados,
Yes.
Freeholder Kowalski, Freeholder Wright,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jallo,
Aye.
and Chairman Hudak.
Aye.
Chairman, you have 8 votes in the affirmative.
We're in exec. Motion to return from executive session.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion was made by Freeholder Carter, seconded by the Vice Chair. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Freeholder Bergen,
Yes.
Freeholder Carter,
Yes.
Freeholder Estrada,
Yes.
Freeholder Granados,
Yes.
Freeholder Kowalski,
Yes.
Freeholder Wright,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jallo,
Aye.
and Chairman Hudak.
Aye.
Chairman, you have 8 votes in the affirmative.
County Council, any statement relative to the executive session?
No statement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Freeholders, any other business this evening? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion was made by Freeholder Carter and seconded by Freeholder Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.